everybody. How are people doing tonight? Yeah, okay. I understand. So anyway, this is sort of some ideas that I had to address the violence that's happened in the camp thus far. And I'm not going to talk about compassion as much. I'm not going to talk about, every vague or cryptic notions of love. This is what I like to call real talk. So let's be real for a minute, all right? Okay. Excuse me, I haven't had an opportunity to memorize that. I just wrote it this afternoon. This place is anything but utopian, and we should never expect it to be, but rather strive for the higher standard of utopia. I have come to all of you tonight in the spirit of the camp. Tonight I will offer a perspective that I hope will keep this spirit alive. What we have attempted to do here in the past 11 days is to undo thousands of years of systemic and cultural oppression. This is a brave undertaking. We are sailing uncharted waters and storms are bound to happen. We would be naive to think otherwise. In the past week or so, we have experienced moments of violence, some of which I have experienced or witnessed myself, including racist, sexist, classic, transphobic, and homophobic verbal attacks. Verbal attacks that make my fists clench and my skin crawl. I have friends who have been a huge part of organizing Occupy Oakland that no longer come to the encampment because they have been the victims of such attacks and no longer feel safe in the space. I'm sure we've all heard of the situation in the kitchen, of the kitchen knife being pulled by a comrade on another comrade. This resulted in the violent expulsion of this aggressor. These are all serious acts of violent oppression. We have all been born into a violent society. We have all grown and developed within a violent system. Thus, this violent system, its tactics, and its ideas dwells within every single one of us. We can see an example of this in the violent thoughts that we sometimes act upon. Sometimes these actions may not seem violent to us, but they may make others feel unsafe and disrespected. For example, not wanting quote-unquote homeless people sleeping in the camp, using racial slurs against a person of a different color than you, or referring to a woman as a bitch without her consent. Consent is the primary idea behind consensus, and consensus, aka consent, is more than just a decision-making process. It applies to every aspect of our lives. We need to learn how to be allies, not enemies. We need to learn how to find strength in our diversity, not weakness. The system we live in, and now the system we oppose, is primarily controlled and thus act in the interests of rich, white, heterosexual, or closeted men. Saying this, white folks learn how to be allies with folks of color. Men learn how to be allies with women. Non-transgender folks learn how to be allies with transgender folks. Straight folks learn how to be allies with gay and bisexual folks. Abled people learn how to be allies with disabled folks, such as deaf, blind, mentally disabled, and people in wheelchairs. And people from wealthier classes learn how to be allies with people of lower income. Saying that, all of those folks I mentioned need to learn how to accept these alliances. It is really easy to hate those different from us. This is how we've been trained. I ask myself and everyone else to listen to the life experiences and desires of each other. I think we'll be amazed at the similarities. So what happens when someone says or does something that makes us feel angry, makes us feel uncomfortable or unsafe? We can critique each other in a non-violent way. Let the person know what they said, did, or made you feel uncomfortable. This requires the person in question to gratefully accept the criticism, clarify where they were coming from, and other alternatives to how the situation could have happened. Everyone should feel empowered to critique each other in a non-violent way, including critiquing the person who may be critiquing you. A good formula I like to use for this is, I feel this way when you, because. I feel this way when you, because this is owning our emotions, this is laying out the situation that happened, and this is working through it in a solution-oriented way instead of screaming at each other or demeaning each other's humanity. This can lead to the growth of people as individuals. It allows us to look at ourselves and ask ourselves how we can become better people. It is very important to check each other, but even more important to constantly check ourselves. This is our individual responsibility. This is what is called accountability. I, myself, am self-identified as a gay, white male, a radical queer, anti-racist, radical feminist, and anarchist. Saying that, I am going to mentally react differently to a black man who locked his keys in the car than a white man who locked his keys in his car. Does this make me a bigot? No, this happens because this is the way that our fucked up system of oppression has taught me to think. So my point is, even though I'm an active anti... Hold on. An active anti-racist, racism still exists within my mind. So when I think of fucked up shit like this example, I can catch myself and say, Shay, why are you thinking like this? Because this is the way the society I live has taught me to think. This is a true example of me checking myself. And this is an example of bringing home the revolution.